Hey guys, it is Shanae
and Jenessa,
and we are from Bloom. We created Bloom as a platform for women to empower themselves and empower each other. And yeah.
Yes, and our Instagram handle is @bloom, BLOOM.GRL. So what we're going to do, this is our first video on YouTube, so please be mindful of our background and our setup, and the quality is probably not good. This is our second time filming it because the first time we were totally out of focus.
Yeah, and we just rambled way too much.
Exactly.
So yes, our camera is set on a laundry basket, a subscription box, my planner, and a Rubik Hour book. So
yeah.
Anyway, we on our Instagram channel asked you guys to ask us some questions, just as starting out with Bloom. So first I want to start foremost with a little background of ourselves. So we both go to the University of Regina in Saskatchewan, Canada. I am taking social work.
And I am doing a double major in psychology and women and gender studies.
So first and foremost, we met in Women and Gender Studies class. It was actually Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, which was
powerful class.
Yes, it was awesome. So yeah, we first kind of met in that class, and then we kind of started a friendship.
And then from there it just blossomed.
Yeah.
And we didn't really meet until our friends before summer last year. But again, in this semester, we made a point to get together right away in the early semester. And one day we were in Campion on campus, and we were just doing homework and talking. And then from there, we were just talking about our dreams and our aspirations, and what we were both saying really lined up with the theme, and that theme was, we're both super passionate about this issue and about empowering other women. So we thought, what the heck? Let's go for it. Let's make Bloom.
And honestly, you guys, it was so scary.
It was.
Like,
it's still scary.
Yeah, we face a lot of, like, I know from my friends, some of my friends are very like, oh, well, why? And it's like, because it is an issue true to my heart and true to Jenessa's heart. And so we're really stepping into the public eye, I guess you could say.
Totally. And we're exposing ourselves and, like,
making ourselves vulnerable.
Right. And we're not going in here trying to hold back. We're going in here, if we cry, I don't think we're going to cry today.
No.
But in future videos, if we cry, swear, talk about the topics that they don't want us to talk about, we're going in here raw.
Yeah.
And with that, let's go.
And with raw, this is going to be raw. We're probably not going to edit this very good. So just bear with us.
Very true.
So we're going to start off with some of the questions that you guys asked us. So the first one is, what does feminism mean to you? Or to us?
Yeah.
So to me, feminism is, I think I'm going to start off by saying the most important thing when talking about the topic of feminism is understanding that the definition of feminism is always changing and evolving, and the way that I see feminism and the way that you see feminism are completely different.
Totally.
So for me, first and foremost, I believe in equality. In the topic of, I believe that men and women should be equal.
In all aspects.
Yes, in all aspects. And I never want, like, women to be over men. I just want a level playing field. I want the ability to get a job that my brother can get, that my friend can get. Like, I just want it to be equal. I want it to be equal when I start having children. Like, I want I have a son. I want him to have the same opportunities that my daughter has, and vice versa. And I think that's a really important thing. And feminism to me is about claiming what is ours, what is rightfully ours, claiming our body and taking control of what we have, and that's our voice. Like, it's talking when we're not supposed to talk. Like, I think that's a huge thing for me.
Totally.
What about you?
Very well said. And, well, adding on to that, a lot of her values match with mine as well. But I think to add my feminism, when thinking about it, is intersectionality and inclusiveness is a huge thing. And I'm not, so when I say I'm a feminist, I'm not going in and advocating for the rights of white women, of white middle class women who already have a voice. I'm advocating for all women, for if they have disabilities, if they're a woman of color, if they're a woman in poverty, of women all over the world, and viewing them and trying to help them get their autonomy that we already have as being privileged white women, middle class women in Saskatchewan.
And I think the most important part when going through that aspect, and I actually just did a report thing on it, was talking for others, like speaking for others, and advocating them for it. So I love that Jenessa kind of brought that up, in the fact that we're not looking to sit back and say, oh, I've experienced this. No, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring these voices into our videos.
Right.
And not speak for them, because we know well off that you guys have a voice and you want to share it too. And I think that we both kind of have that value and that need, that I'm not going to sit back and talk to someone or talk for someone who has experienced poverty, racism, sexism, well, we've obviously experienced, but all that stuff. And all of that aspect of it kind of went off on a tangent there. But
and on top of that as well, feminism is not just for women. I'm a feminist on behalf, so my cousins and the men and boys in my life don't have to be told to be a man, to stop acting like a pussy. Don't be such a girl, because
like as if girl's the worst thing that you can be.
Exactly.
Like,
to
honey,
be
we have
to a woman.
babies. Like, we have babies.
And going off of that, I think as women, we have this certain power and connection to nature even, and I think it's about honing those and accepting that and coming into who you are as a woman and being empowered by that.
Yes, for sure. So we kind of touched on why we created Bloom, just to create a safe space for everyone.
And put our dreams to life. And in our women and gender studies classes in schools, we learn about a lot of things that weigh on you emotionally. And I'll be honest, like, a week or so ago, I was still trying to come out of this funk of feeling kind of down and depressed and anxious, and that's not who I am naturally. And it took a long time for me to grasp, like, why am I feeling like this? And I think what I came to understand is, like, a lot of this stuff I'm learning about is very emotionally draining, and it's terrible stuff you learn about. And it's hard because you hear about all this stuff, but you can't do anything about it. So this is why we made it. It's trying to create some kind of platform, even though it is small, but just creating that conversation and having that place to hopefully empower people and move us forward in the right direction.
Yeah, and then again, like, talk about patriarchy and misogynist, like, all those ideologies that are present in our society is so important for us to talk about. And, like, we were both in that funk. And I think that it's totally draining, like, learning about this stuff, the shitty stuff that goes on in the world, and not being able to do anything. So and this is us trying to do something.
Right. And especially of women of privilege, that it's like we understand that we don't have the same experiences as a woman of color or something like that. Like in Saskatchewan and in Canada, the missing and murdered Indigenous women epidemic is huge and it's not talked about. And that's something we want to do, is get those conversations going and let people know what's going on and not continuing the ignorance that people have.
And the blindness.
And blindness, like, and going through.
Blind and deaf, honestly, because Saskatchewan is horrible for that. So, who do we look up to? So, I look up to my mom and my grandma, my auntie, like, all, like, my huge woman figures in my life, because they have honestly taught me so much. They're so supportive, and they are my backbone a lot of the times. My mom has been there for me throughout everything, like, absolutely everything in my life. And I'm comfortable talking to her honestly about everything, and she's the strongest woman I know. She has beat so many odds in working her way up in her work, like in her industry of work, so the bank industry, and she's always been the crazy mom. Like, my mom was a crazy mom, and like, she likes to have fun, she likes to be loud, she wants, like, you know what I mean? And that
she defies typical gender roles.
Yeah, like, she'll walk into a room and scream if she wants to. She'll laugh as loud as she wants. And that is seen in, like, my personality too, is I'm the exact same person as her, just a little bit more monotone. But honestly, I don't know what I would do without My mom.
Yeah. Well, and on that too, not trying to be repetitive, but my mom, the biggest inspiration in my life, hands down, she always has been and she always will. Again, she's the most amazing woman I know, and she, even though in life she's experienced the things, she always remains the most positive person I know. She constantly talks about attitude of gratitude, and she's awesome.
Yeah, I think we could honestly talk about our moms forever.
Exactly. So, and that's totally why we are the way we are, is because of our moms, and they gave us the empowerment and the bravery to just go out there.
Like, we're in the public
get our
eye.
own.
Like, yeah. Like, we're, like, making ourselves vulnerable to so many things.
A lot of hate.
And we're so scared, but we love it. This is what we want to do. This is what we're put on the surf for, I think. Like,
I hope so.
Yeah. So, moving on to the next question is, what advice would you give to young girls about embracing their bodies? And this is a huge one for me. Huge. So, I've always been a little bit overweight, curvy.
Thick. 2 C's.
So, and I've gone through a couple of surgeries in my life, which I'll probably end up talking about in a different video. So I was bullied, and I was, like, shamed, body shamed, like, fat shamed, whatever. And that was very hard for me. That was a low point in my life. But then I, like, looked at my support system, and I'm like, I have who I need. Like, I don't give a F what they say. Like, and I think what I can tell you about embracing your body is just that. Embrace your body like it's yours. It is the only thing that is actually yours in this world. Like, stand in the mirror naked if you have to. And stare and be like, this is mine. Like, damn. Like,
accept it. Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing for me was accepting my body. And honestly, that has made me grow so much as a person. Like, I've seen my, like, people close to me go through weight gain and weight loss, and them never really being happy with their body. And it's like, okay, like, you need to accept what you have and work it, girl, because that's what you got. Like, I think that's the biggest thing. And
yeah, totally. And at the same time, of course, you can have things about your body that you are insecure about, but it's learning to accept that your perfect imperfections.
Yes, exactly.
And just honing who you are, because no one else is like you. No one else will ever be like you. So don't waste your time comparing you and doing that. Oh, I wish I was thinner. I wish I had a bigger butt. I wish I had smaller boobs. I wish I was more curvy. Like, don't waste your time.
That's honestly,
because you're not going to get anywhere. So just accept who you are, love who you are, and as much as it's important to love yourself from the outside, it's equally as important to love the person you are from the inside. And just finding your strengths and the things that, you know what, this is special to me, and it makes me unique to who I am, and embracing
there's just,
who you
like,
are.
so many things. Like, and I think that we look at each other and we're like,
yeah,
damn, like, I wish I looked like you. And, like, it's so, like, back and forth. And I think it's like a huge thing for you to want to look like your friend and yada yada yada. But I think, like, now it's like, okay, like, you know what, this is mine. This is all mine. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then touching on that, I think, like, having those friends who will lift you up, having those friends that it's like, hey, you know what, Shanae, I'm feeling really bad about my skin today because I'm someone who does suffer from acne, and Shanae has beautiful skin, and I'm always like, oh my god, Shanae, I wish I had that. But then equally, she'll
it's like
look
with
at
my
me
eczema,
on something.
right? Like, all that stuff. I'll look at her and be like, yeah, but you don't have all this rash stuff all over your body. And it's just standing there, like, honestly, like, there's been so many times at, like, 2 in the morning where I'm standing in the bathroom and she's laying in bed and saying, you look really good right now. Like, that kind of stuff. And it's those little things. It's those little things that matter. So I think that that's really important. Okay, so this is a fun one. What do you say to people that think feminists are man haters?
Honestly, like, don't be so ignorant. Honestly, because that's what I find a lot of the time when you're talking about feminism to people who don't self-claim themselves as feminists. They go to the most minute little reasons. They'll be like, well, this girl is a lesbian, so therefore all feminists are lesbians. And I'm not saying it's bad to be a lesbian by no means, but I'm saying they take one little thing and they cast it upon all women.
Yeah, it's an umbrella term. It honestly is a huge umbrella term that term that we need to like end, because like girl, we don't hate men. Like
no,
we like
we're
men.
both heterosexual. We're out here loving men. But at the same time, we hope that they will respect us.
And respecting ourselves.
Yep.
What has been the most challenging what has been the most challenging thing about starting Bloom? I think that the most challenging thing about starting Bloom was definitely learning how to communicate as friends.
Totally.
Doing something as partners. Right?
Yeah.
And not to like put down on Bloom, but our friendship comes first in a lot of the aspects. Because Jenessa is so important to me, and
as you are to me.
And so I don't want to wreck that, because we're just like, we can be silly, we can be serious, we can
cry, we can laugh, and all within 10 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's honestly so important. But yes, as with that, we both had to learn to communicate, and I know I'm pretty bossy in my nature sometimes. And so when I go about saying things sometimes, it could sound bossy. And then
I found that I like just took it, and then I like found myself like really like in my shell, and like was afraid to like say what I think, kind of thing. And then but now it's like
it's good. And I think with this YouTube channel, it'll be a lot better, because it's a lot easier for both of our personalities to show, because if we just have an Instagram page, you don't really need two people to make a post.
Yeah, and I think, but with still like, we still kind of are like, oh, can I post this? Or, oh, can I post this? Whereas, like, you really get to see our personalities on camera.
Yeah.
And then what has been the most rewarding and best thing for myself is probably, like, meeting you guys. And, like, just empowering women.
Right. And then for me, it's just, like, people will come up to us and they'll be like, oh my god, what you're doing is so amazing.
And they'll say, like, thank you, like, you've really, like, inspired me to do better in this. And it's very, like, it's mind work. And it's awesome.
Yes. Or another thing is, like, someone will message me and they'll be like, before this page, I didn't even know what feminism was. And if we can just, at minimum, just, like, tell our viewpoints on what we think it is, that's more than we could have ever wished for.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so now the last question is, how do you feel feminism varies from white women to women of color? And as a white woman, what are some ways you have found effective to build women of color up and make it so that your message of equality is for everyone, not just people who look like you?
Wow.
That's a good question.
I think the most important part is, again, not speaking for them, but taking into consideration, like, get them on here with us, like, have the conversation
and give them our stage. And then again, like we said in the beginning, like, our feminism isn't for white cisgender middle class women, it's for everyone, all women, and we're not
regardless of race, like anything. And I think that's the biggest thing, is so many people are like, oh, well, it's easy enough for you to stand up there because you're a white privileged woman. Well, yeah, it's easier for us, but we want to make the accessibility that we have accessible to everyone.
Right. And in this journey, it's important to us to, like, even when we're doing interviews or we're talking to people, is we're not just talking to white women, but we're getting many different voices and bringing them in here and having them tell their story, not us always saying this case of an Indigenous woman, or in this missing and murdered Indigenous case, or this racism that they faced. It's bringing them here and them telling their story, and then us standing alongside them, saying,
advocating for them.
Yeah, and we're fighting for you and with you, and
we're not fighting against you. We're standing alongside you in the fight for equality.
Exactly.
Of all race.
And at the same time, it's like if we go into a case when, like, we need to help someone and they're not the same as us, it's like we're not telling them what we're gonna do to help them, but it's asking them what they need, and then from there moving forward is like them guiding us on how we can help them and what we can do for them.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that was our first Q&A and our first YouTube video.
Yeah, so if you like and all those fancy YouTube things, and then I guess leave a comment down below what you liked, maybe what you didn't like, and any suggestions you have for future videos.
And of course, this is all going to change, like, you know, it's just...
Yep.
We're just trying this thing
We're working with what we got right now.
So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in our next video.
See ya!
Bye, guys!